Ever wondered what would happen if Sonic the Hedgehog traded in his spin dash for a firearm? It sounds like a joke, right? The blue blur who can break the sound barrier, armed with a gun. Well, believe it or not, this was a real idea that almost happened. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and today we're re-diving into one of the most bizarre chapters in Sonic's history, the time Sega almost gave him a gun. Let's rewind to the mid-2000s. The Sonic series was in a bit of an experimental phase. After the Dreamcast era, Sega was trying to figure out how to keep their mascot relevant for a new generation of gamers. They were throwing everything at the wall to see what would stick. This led to some interesting creative choices, like Werehogs and medieval swords. But nothing was quite as wild as the concept for the game that would eventually become Shadow the Hedgehog. Originally, the team at Sega Studio USA was brainstorming a new solo adventure. They wanted something darker, edgier, and more mature to appeal to the older audience that grew up with Sonic on the Genesis. Their initial pitch? A Sonic game where our blue hero himself would be wielding firearms. Can you imagine Sonic, the optimistic chili dog-loving hero, blasting his way through badniks with a pistol? It's a mind-boggling image. The idea was to give him a more gritty, realistic edge. But as development progressed, the team started to have second thoughts. Giving Sonic a gun felt like a fundamental betrayal of his character. Sonic's whole thing is speed, freedom, and a carefree attitude. He solves problems by running fast and curling into a ball, not by pulling a trigger. It just didn't fit. The contrast was too jarring, and it risked alienating the core fanbase that loved Sonic for who he was. So they pivoted. The concept of a gun-toting hedgehog wasn't thrown out completely. It was just transferred to a different character. And who better to carry that dark, edgy vibe than Sonic's ultimate rival, Shadow the Hedgehog? It made perfect sense. Shadow was already the brooding anti-hero. His mysterious past and morally ambiguous nature made him the perfect candidate for this new, more aggressive gameplay style. He had the attitude to pull it off. And so, the 2005 game Shadow the Hedgehog was born. The game was built entirely around this concept. Shadow could pick up and use a huge arsenal of weapons, from handguns to alien blasters to rocket launchers. He could also drive vehicles like motorcycles and jeeps. The marketing campaign went all in on this edgy new direction, with the tagline "Hero or Villain? You decide." The game even had a branching narrative with multiple endings depending on the moral choices you made. The reception to Shadow the Hedgehog was, to put it mildly, divisive. Some fans embraced the darker tone and enjoyed the novelty of seeing a Sonic character in this kind of action shooter setting. It was different, and for some, that was exciting. However, many critics and longtime fans felt it was a step too far. They criticized the awkward controls, the repetitive missions, and most of all, the complete tonal whiplash. Seeing Shadow wield a gun and hearing him drop lines like, "Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?" felt out of place in the Sonic universe. In the end, the Sonic with a gun experiment was a one-off. Sega seemed to recognize that this wasn't the right direction for the franchise. Subsequent games dialed back the edginess and refocused on what made Sonic great in the first place: speed, platforming, and vibrant worlds. While Shadow the Hedgehog remains a strange and controversial entry in the series, it serves as a fascinating reminder of a time when Sega was willing to take huge risks. So, while we never officially got to see Sonic himself locked and loaded, the idea lived on through his dark counterpart. It's a wild piece of gaming history that shows just how different things could have been. What do you think? Would a gun-toting Sonic have been cool? Or was Sega right to give the idea to Shadow instead? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into gaming history. See you in the next one.